Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Vlad and Isabella von Carstein. It doesn't make sense to do separate videos for these two, so we're going to put them in one, because their start position is the same, but we'll talk about the difference between starting with each one. So if you start with Vlad as your chosen legendary lord, then you have Vlad as a lord and Isabella as a hero. Vlad's faction bonus is campaign movement range plus 10%, which is, in my opinion, the better of the two choices, but it really does come down to personal choice. If you choose Isabella as your starting legendary lord, then she'll be the lord, with Vlad as the hero, and her faction bonus is plus 3 capacity for vampire heroes, with plus 25% extra weapon strength for vampire heroes, which is something that I think is less valuable than campaign movement range, especially in Warhammer 3, where the AI can be quite cowardly and just hover right outside the edge of your movement. Getting extra campaign movement range can basically prevent them from launching successful raids on your settlements, especially considering it's a faction-wide buff to campaign movement range. So their start position is Castle Drakenhof, which is not where they originally started in Total War Warhammer 1 and 2. They started off at Schwarzhofen, but since Manfred has packed up and moved off to the desert, Drakenhof has been left vacant, and so they've come in and taken it. So you start off with 2 settlements. There's only a few factions in the game that really start off with more than 1 settlement at a time, and Vlad's one of them. Vlad and Isabella is one of them. So your starting enemy is Tempelhof, and this is nothing more than a punching bag, because Vlad and Isabella, when combined together, are essentially doom stacks just on their own right at the start, and regardless of which legendary lord you pick, your army is quite strong. These guys are just here to get your lords some experience and then move on to whatever progress next. The only real threat to Vlad and Isabella in the area is probably Dryka. All of the Elector counts are very easy to take over. You do also have the option with Vlad, regardless of whether you choose him as your lord or not. If you get mortal levies as his skill, diplomatic relations plus 40 with the Empire makes it possible to have decent relations with them and actually not be at war with them, but it's entirely up to you which way you want to go with it. So you've got options in this campaign. However, they don't have a specific faction mechanic compared to other vampire counts, especially Manfred. Like, Manfred's got every mechanic that these guys have, but he's got the Books of Nagash that he's going after. The unique part of a Vlad and Isabella campaign is just one specific building here at Drakenhof, the Mausoleum of the Mad Count, which makes it pretty easy to get vampire heroes very early on, so the other vampire counts just get vampires a lot later on. So you can get an absolute ton of vampires very early on if you play as Isabella. Entirely up to you. Really, the vampire count roster is incredibly strong at the moment because it's both disposable, cheap, and you're rich. And so you go into a battle, and if you take a bunch of casualties, you just don't care, because you just raise the dead and just get better troops, because the raise the dead mechanic is so powerful now. So overall, I think that the Vlad/Isabella campaign is quite easy, largely because the AI doesn't put up as much of a fight in Warhammer 3 as it did in Warhammer 2. Like in Warhammer 2 on Legendary difficulty, each Elector count would field 2 full stacks very early on, whereas in Warhammer 3, they'll only field 1 full stack, and typically speaking, they're very easy to outpower, especially considering the AI for the Empire seems to be absolutely brain dead. So if you're looking for a really easy vampire count campaign, then Vlad's the way to go, because there's nothing but Elector counts from here on to Reichland, and they are so dumb in the early game, it's not funny. All you have to do is rush at them. Doesn't matter what the battle difficulty is. Very easy campaign. So, in terms of optimal for fun, if you're a newer player to Total War Warhammer 3, then Vlad is probably a really good campaign to sort of learn the mechanics, because it's a very forgiving campaign. You really can't go wrong. Even if you suffer massive casualties in a battle, you can so easily replace them. And of course, your lords are very robust and strong, so it'd take an extreme amount of force to actually lose them, because they got so much regeneration. Isabella, for example, starts off with the Blood Chalice of Bathory, which provides basically free regeneration. That's an unlimited use item that provides healing for lords and heroes. It's very, very good. So you don't even need to use Invocation of the Heck on them. And then, of course, when they're attached, they get extra battle healing cap, so they can heal like an absolute ton. But if you're a veteran player, then this campaign might seem a little bit boring, and you might want to pick a vampire account in a more interesting start position, such as Helm and Gorst, because typically speaking, even on legendary difficulty, unless you handicap yourself, no one's going to put up any real fight in any direction here. Dwarfs are easy to deal with, the Empire is easy to deal with. The only one that will probably give you any early game threat is Drakkar, so that's entirely up to you. The vampire accounts are a bit in a weird state at the moment, where they're both strong, like really strong, but also kind of not interesting. Like, a lot of the mechanics just aren't really up to scratch with the advancement of other factions. I think they're due for a rework. Because if you have a look at their economy, they've got really boosted early game economy, because they used to get all their money in the later stages of the campaign in Warhammer 2. That's when they really start to snowball, but they snowball straight away now, so it can get quite boring early on, because the AI doesn't snowball anywhere near as quickly as the vampire accounts can. And then you've got the bloodline mechanic, which works pretty much the same as it did in Warhammer 2. There's a few adjustments to some of these here, some minor adjustments, but yeah, you can get access to quite a lot of these bloodline lords. In terms of which order to do them in, I personally like the Lamian, then the Von Carstein, then Blood Dragon, Necrarch, and then Strigoi. That's the order in terms of which ones I think are the best. I think the Strigoi is the least good, and the Lamian is the best, in my personal opinion, but of course, everyone's going to have a different opinion about which one they want. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below which legendary lord you'd like me to get to cover next. Let me know what you think of Vlad and Isabella's campaign. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.